We had a high school teacher write to us recently, a woodshop teacher, asking if we could do a short video describing the process from an idea, the idea that you want to carve, and the actual finished carving. And I thought this is a very good opportunity to just bring all that out and lay it in front of you, a bit like a lecture of how the process of carving works from the one to the other. This line here represents the point before which you start carving and the point after which you start carving. So here, at this point, we're ready to carve, okay? So, now before you actually start carving, there are things you need to think about. You need to work your idea into a design. In other words, think of it in terms of wood carving, because not a lot of ideas, not every idea actually works as a wood carving. Some ideas are better suited to, say, modelling, bronze or something like that. So it's got to be a wood design, something that works in wood. Got to think about that. And from there, you'll make thumbnail sketches. I'll write that in. Thumbnails. Okay. So you've got your design. You think about thumbnails, little sketches. You might do a model. You might think about that. You might then work up a working drawing. So you've got a drawing. I just put WD drawing for here. So you've thought of all that. The other thing you've got to think about, of course, is wood. What wood have you got, and so on. How strong is it? How does it work with the design you have? Is it seasoned? Are you going to have to join it together, and so on? And then you've got to think about tools. Your carving tools, what have you got? Have you got the right sort of tools for this design? Are they sharpened? All this sort of thing. How do you handle them? How do you hold them? All that, the basic three things, the design, the wood and the tools. So all these things are sort of pointing to a stage when you're getting ready to carve. You've also got to think about your bench. How are you going to hold the carving? All that. So there's lots of things you need to think about, but they'll be the sort of thing, a lot of these tools and wood are things you know about as a carver anyway from other projects. So you've got everything together, you've got a place to work, you've got your bench, you've got your design, you've got your tools and all that sort of thing. Then you're standing in front of your block to think about carving, your block of wood. So what's the first thing you're going to do? Well, the first stage in the process is what I would call roughing out. Okay, roughing out. What I mean by that is the big picture, the very big picture. So that's where you'd use your bandsaw, you'd use a coping saw, you might use an Arbortech, anything, remove any big blocks of wood that you can get away with. So this is really machinery more than actually carving. Then from the roughing out, you go to what is called the bosting in stage. Now this is a very important bosting in. It's a very important term in carving. What bosting is it's not really roughing out. It's getting the first big pass, the overall picture. Where are the main masses? How do they articulate together? Where's one thing related to another? The sort of depths, those sort of the big picture, which underpins everything else. And to me, this is the most important stage, because if that's not right, everything else that follows won't be right either. So we've got to spend a lot of time or a lot of consideration on this bosting in. So this is the big picture. I'm going to call it big picture here. So once you've got the big masses in, you then go to what, for want of a better word, I would call modelling. Now I don't mean modelling in the sense of clay, obviously. I mean modelling in the sense of refining, taking this bossing and doing a second pass and a third pass and refining those big forms to they're subdivided from the big picture to a little bit more and more, becoming closer to what you think the carving is going to look like. And this is quite an exploratory phase, really exciting phase, where things can go wrong or things can go very right. You discover things, this sort of idea. And the thing is that you'll be making deeper, everything will be a bit deeper, you know, this sort of thing. You won't be undercutting, but you'll be making deeper forms. This is from one merges into another. And then you go even further, and I would call it refining. It's like a third pass. Refining. Meaning, you know, we've roughed it out, we've then done the bosting in, we've done the second pass, we're doing a third pass almost, where we start looking for subtler forms, perhaps working into the undercutting a little bit, deeper recesses, setting in the edges. At this point here, this is really, really, really important. Somewhere here is what I call a point of recognition. Get my spelling right here. What I mean by that is, when you start carving, it's completely chaotic. It's you enter this chaotic phase where it looks awful, and all you've got to do is just keep going, keep refining these forms. And what happens is there comes a point where you can start seeing things. The brain, especially if you go away and come back again, the brain sort of starts picking up these forms, the things you want, the shapes of the leaves, the nose, whatever it is you're carving, it starts to see it. And that's a wonderful, wonderful place. Suddenly from, I don't know what's going on, to, yes, I sort of see where we're going now. That's a really important point. And somewhere in here, between the modelling and the refining, you'll start to see that. And that's really important. And from there, it's a bit downhill, to be honest, because this has been a big struggle. Now you've caught what you want. You're now refining it. So we're moving from the refining, the undercutting. This could be undercutting. Let's put it undercutting, setting in, things like that, all this sort of thing. And eventually, from here, when that surface is refined, you can then start putting details. This is the fourth stage. So you can see that from the very big picture, we've refined it, the surfaces are being divided and consolidated, and eventually we come to the final surface where we're putting the details on. And the thing about a detail is that it is something that you add to a finished surface. If you find yourself having to cut away that surface and redo the details, the chances are you put the details in too early. So the details, that could be hair, could be scales, could be feathers, all that sort of thing, that's sitting on the surface of the form that you've made here. And then of course the last thing you need to do is finish it. Finish meaning add wax or oil or whatever, and find a way of mounting it, and then it becomes your finished carving. So this is the overall idea. You're going from the big picture down to the final surface. Now you've got to do it in this order. That's the important thing. If you start refining too early, then you'll find the things you're putting in are in the wrong place. This has got to be done first. You've got to get the main shapes, then you start refining them, modelling them, so on, down to the final surface. And you'll be making stuff as you go along. You'll be finding stuff that you didn't realise, and it's a very creative process as you go along. So that's the way it goes. I would say, finally, that not everything follows this path. It depends what you're doing. But generally speaking, that's how you go from a block of wood to the finished product safely, without taking away wood you don't want to take away, because that's a really important thing. Your block of wood here that you're ready to carve, that is everything there. You're not going to add anything. It's all in there. So for you to find the form in there, you've got to sort of sneak up on it. Big picture, second pass, third pass, sneak up on it a step at a time. And if you follow this sort of idea, you get to your finished carving safely. So I'll put a download with some of these notes in below here. And I would say that try and absorb that, and try and look at other projects on the site, and you'll see that we follow this pattern all the time. This is a safe way. This is the process that woodcarving works.